You're welcome to Lit Lamb's Family Podcast, where we help parents raise children with purpose, structure, and faith. And today I'm here with my guest, Alia.
Hello.
She's a parent coach and a school owner, and she has spent up to 13 years in the children's space. And guess what we're going to be unpacking today? Now, children don't just walk into school like that. They walk into school carrying the readings and interactions from the home environment. How does the interactions or how do the interactions at home affect their behavior in school? Now, not just about how they learn, but how they interact in the school environment. So, over to you, Alia. Please tell us about yourself before you start.
My name is Alia Nantogma. Oh, hello to your viewers. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Thank you so much for having me. Let's see, it's an honor to be here. So, like I said, my name is Alia Nantogma. I've been in this business for close to 13 years. I initially started my career in development work. And when I was working with United Nations World Food Program, I was working under the Ghana School Feeding Program or with the Ghana School Feeding Program. And part of my job was to go around the schools in northern Ghana and monitor how the school feeding program was being implemented in the schools. And I noticed that in a lot of the schools I would visit, the children would come to school because they wanted the meal. They would come to school and enjoy the food the program was given, but they would not engage with the teacher. They would not engage with their lessons. They just come and sit down. Sometimes some would sleep. Some of them would come to school with their younger siblings as babysitters, and they would just sit down and then go. And I thought there is an issue with education. The way we do education is something needs to be done. So that was my initial inspiration. And it puts me in a space where I was on a quest to learn about education, how to engage with learning. And my exposure or my got me to Montessori. So a lot of the things I do now is based on the Montessori philosophy that when you do with your hands, your mind remembers. So I'm very big in my school on experiential learning. I'm very big on activities. I'm very big at the preschool level on play-based learning, and at the primary school level, project-based learning. So everything or most of the things that we do here are very hands-on. Yes, so that's it.
Beautiful. Well done. Well done. And I can see that play out in how you do things around here. So well done. So back to our conversation on what are the things that happen at home that children carry into the school environment that affect how they interact at school.
So one of the I dare say the most important thing about any child that carries them through a learning experience, that carries them through any kind of environment, is their confidence. And when I talk about confidence, I don't mean being able to speak up in public, because usually that's the assumption, even though that's part of it. I'm not talking about just that. Because if we're talking about being able to speak up in public or being able to approach somebody first, that could also be a personality thing. Some children are shy, some children are introverted, and that's okay. It's okay to be who you are. But let me touch on that a little bit. When we talk about being able to speak in public or being able to speak to someone first or being able to speak in a more open environment out of a child's comfort zone, apart from the child's personality, a lot of it also I noticed stems from the way a parent interrupts a child. So often at home or in social circles, maybe in church or maybe in the market, we do the talking for our children. So somebody asks your child a question and then you say, answer it. Answer. Oh, you answer. Okay, so this is it. Don't mind him. Oh, he just did this, that. What you're teaching your child is, I don't have to use my voice. I can depend on yours. something happens to a child in school, the child hits himself, he has a quarrel with another child. Instead of empowering the child to be able to fight their battles, for want of a better word, what we do is we tell the child, next time this person that come and tell me, come and tell me. So the child learns that, okay, this is how things are done. We don't fight for ourselves. We don't speak for ourselves. We go and tell mommy and daddy, and mommy and daddy will come and fight our battles. And often you'll find the parents who will come and then, they would razzle or dazzle, ras another a teacher in front of the child. And I always ask the question, if you speak ill of a teacher in front of your child, or if you embarrass a teacher in front of the child, how do you expect the child to be able to learn under that teacher? It can't happen. You've broken every form of respect that the child has for the teacher. So all these little things do affect a child's ability to be able to confront issues on their own, or to be able to speak up in front of other people. But another confidence issue we find in our environment is a child overly seeking validation from a teacher. And in the classroom, that manifests with a child not being able to carry out an assignment from beginning to end on their own, independently, but constantly asking a teacher's attention. Hey, madam, please, have I done it well? Madam, come and see. Madam, come. That kind of thing. And it doesn't work well for the child's confidence. And how do parents contribute to that at home? Usually, if you find a child like that, if you watch, it's usually a child from an or high achieving parents. When you have a parent who's a high achiever, like a doctor, a lawyer, a banker, somebody who is in a cutthroat industry, they are working hard, they are meeting targets, they are meeting goals, they set goals for their lives and they are meeting it. You usually find a child, they usually have very high expectations of their children, and you would find that the child is struggling to meet up to those expectations. And sometimes, let me give you a typical example. Sometimes, even with small tasks at home, like washing dishes, you find that the parents will say, Kofi or Ama, go and wash dishes. Ama goes to wash the dishes. Look at the way the water is dirty. Won't you change the water? Look at the way you've washed the fork. See, you have to wash inside. You see the cup. You've done it. Every step of the way, the parent is criticizing what the child has done. The child brings homework home. See your handwriting. Your handwriting is bad. Change the color. You know what you've done with this? You have to write below the line. You have to write above the line. No, stop. Erase it. Do it again. That kind of thing. When you do that, what you are telling the child is, anything I initiate on my own is never good enough. What my agency tells me to do does not cut it. So I have to depend on the adult in my environment to be able to carry out any task. And that's what plays out perfectly in the classroom. So every time I'm doing work, teacher has to tell me I'm okay before I continue. An over dependence on adults, and over dependence on everybody. So it's a total confidence killer. The child is just unable to blossom.
And this thing is not just about learning, because it becomes a character that is carried through life. I really want to appreciate the definition of confidence that you had given earlier, because thinking about it, when you hear that somebody is confident, you think about someone who can speak boldly, you think about someone who can initiate a conversation, but that's just a part of it. And that could speak to the child's personality more than the child's level of confidence. So you see that a lot of times when people come into a room and they're able to light up the place, not like they have a good self-esteem. No, sometimes it's a cover-up to the fact that if people don't even laugh when they crack jokes, they feel really bad. So the real issue is about being confident in who you are, appreciating who you are, and being able to pull through no matter what. So yes, please speak to the other bit around confidence that talks about a child not being able to deal with failure. Yeah.
So another way we see lack of confidence manifest in the classroom is a child just being unable to fail. They don't know how to handle failure. They don't know how to persist through mistakes. So when you point out a mistake, the world is coming to an end. I have to cry my heart out because maybe I got a D in maths. I can't deal for the rest of my life. I'm never going to do maths again. And we see it happen a lot these days with the number of mental health issues we are having. And you can see it's because children are just unable to fail. I give this example often, okay? Imagine me and you are we're walking in the rain, okay? There's a storm outside. We're walking in the rain. You are wearing a raincoat. I am not. But we both walk and we're going to the same place. Will we feel the impact of the rain the same way? So often when we talk of negative experiences, it's not just the the situation. It's the individual's ability to be able to deal with the situation that they are living with or that they've encountered. And one of the things is if there are certain things that if a child encounters too young, before they are able to deal with, they have the maturity to be able to deal with certain things, it just becomes difficult for them. So one of the things I mentioned is public shaming. Okay, if you are fond of publicly shaming your child, the child is going to be totally terrified of failure. They are afraid to fail because, and I'm talking of experiences between 0 and 5. I'm not even talking of up to 10. Up to 10, sometimes, if you've done 0 to 5 or 0 to 6 well, up to 10, usually those kinds of emotional things, they are better able to deal with. But if between 0 to 6, your child pees, and you want to come outside and tell everybody, yay, my child has urinated on himself, you are public shaming. The child makes a mistake. I see it a lot with toddlers. The child makes a mistake with the way they've said a word. And often the way we say words and a child repeats is how they've heard it. It's not because they think it's wrong. Now, when you laugh at the child because they said something wrong, depending on the child's personality, they may take it as shame. Then they fall. It seems like this is not acceptable because remember, they are trying to learn how the society works.
Yeah.
So they are connecting dots and connecting patterns. It seems like when I say this, people laugh.
It seems like when I speak, people laugh.
When I speak, people laugh. And then the trauma starts forming. It's like, it seems like me as for me. Then something else happens. That, what did I do? And then they shamed me like this. That means that maybe my voice doesn't sound good. Maybe my voice shouldn't be heard. And all that begins to build up. And then it becomes a full grown adult or a 10-year-old who just won't move a leg. When they do something and they are progressing and they are succeeding, it's fine. But as soon as they hit a failure, it goes back to the trauma that they went through. And one of the things we need to understand as parents is the mind keeps score. The mind never forgets. The brain, the way God has created that organ, it always remembers, even if you don't remember
Consciously.
Even if you don't remember consciously, the brain keeps score of the things that hurt him before and make sure that it doesn't repeat itself. You understand? So if you publicly shame your child, it's one of the things that can also overcorrecting and overcorrecting them in public. Overcorrecting them in public can also lead to a child just being unable to deal with failure.
Interesting. So public shame, overcorrecting, and sometimes we feel that these people are children. It doesn't mean anything, but it means a lot because at that point the brain is taking records.
It is.
It's taking records. It's building its foundation. Perceptions are being formed. Real reasons are being formed. And the sad reality is that sometimes even the adult now doesn't even know why.
No, their child has become like that. No. And for a lot of the time, even the child will have to grow to a certain point and now have to make a conscious effort to undo
those things.
Sometimes, you are triggered by a certain smell. You don't even know why you are triggered by that smell. You understand? Until you go back into your child, it seems like on a day that's maybe a certain from maybe the day that my father died, this was the food my mother was cooking and it smelled like that. So that smell has become a trauma inducing smell. So you find that you don't like jollof rice. So when you now begin to think and then phrase this, okay, so it seems like this is what it is. So I have to consciously rewire my brain and tell my brain that it's okay to smell jollof or it's okay to smell this. And that's how we have to rewire our brain. But why do you want to wait till you are 23 or 25 before you now undo all the work? Why don't we just do the work on our children now to set them up for a better future?
So this is where knowledge comes in as a parent. This is where even reparenting ourselves comes in, because we are all victims of whatever it is our own parents have done, or failed to do. So, it puts us in a place where we are doing double jobs. Let me use that word.
Yeah.
We have to reparent ourselves
and parent our children.
Parent our children.
Exactly.
So really, there's no parent that should be parenting now without putting effort to learn. And there's this excuse of, what did our parents know? They instinctively did the right things. But like I like to ask, did they really do the right thing?
Or my favorite one, oh, look at me. My parents did it with me and I turned out just fine. But did you really?
Did you really turn out fine? And especially with high achieving parents, we tend to count on our achievements as success, like we are doing okay, and not knowing that same success is what might be detrimental to our children. Like you just pointed out, I fall slightly in that category because I have high expectations, very high expectations. And like you were speaking, I could see myself a lot, because I can easily spot when something is not done properly. There's a good side to it. There's a very bad side to it as well. Anything that is a strength can also be a weakness.
Yeah.
So I can easily spot when something is not done right. And there's always the tendency to quickly fix it, quickly correct. It's either I do it myself, or I'm there to tell you, no, do it like this. Like, you can get it right at once. Why wait for you to finish? But speaking with you this morning, I've seen that it's important that we allow our children go through the process by themselves, because coming in between can cause them to always seek validation or lose confidence in their own ingenuity. I don't know if that's the correct word.
Yeah.
Yes, lose confidence in their own ingenuity. So yes, thank you so much. I can see here now that we can't stop learning. We can't stop learning. We can't stop putting in the work to reparent ourselves, to retrain ourselves, because we might not be responsible for what our own parents did, but we are responsible to God for what we do in the lives of our own children.
I would just like to add that confidence is not negotiable in today's world. So if you do nothing for your child, don't be the reason why your child is not confident. Let it be an external factor that you couldn't control.
Yeah.
But do not be the reason that your child coiled into their shell and struggled to come out.
Wow, that's a very important one. And while you were talking, something came to mind. We talked about the parent who is trying to get the child to do the right things, but then it becomes detrimental. What about the parent who is not even, the child is free, do whatever you want to do, however you want to do it, whenever you want to do it?
Okay. The no control people. That is, so that also exhibits some other kind of behavior in school. Sometimes it may not even be confidence, But the issue that we get is a child just being out of control, a child not being able to submit to authority. They are used to getting what they want. They are used to getting what they want when they want. And when they don't get it, they can't handle it. So they have this very entitled mentality that they bring into the school environment. And those ones are very hard to deal with because their parents are not permissive because they don't love them. Their parents are permissive because they do love them, but just do not know how to parent right. So you find that that kind of child will go home. What if a teacher is trying to put them right or try to get them under authority, they'll go home and report to their parents. Their parents will come and have a clash with teachers, and usually any kind of I don't want to call it a fight, but any kind of exchange between a parent and a teacher is never healthy. It's never healthy because, especially if you do it in front of the child, what you are teaching the child is that this teacher doesn't have authority. This teacher doesn't know what they are doing. So this teacher is not able to teach the child ever again because they've lost all respect. So yes, the permissive parents, they are another group that we have to deal with. So you have a lot of work to do to reach a lot of our parents to make sure that we are raising better children to come to us.
Interesting. I would have loved to hear you speak on where we draw the line so that we're not too permissive.
Okay.
And at the same time, we're not too critical.
Okay. So I mentioned earlier, I think maybe probably off camera.
Yeah.
I was saying when you're giving your child a task, or when you give a child a task, you tell the child, wash bowls. First of all, when you tell a child to wash bowls, you have to know that you have modeled it or you have shown the child how to do it or you've done it with the child. So the child has an idea how it's done. You don't just tell them to just do it and then let them do it. You model it first, okay? Next thing is when you give a child a task, trust the child to carry out the task.
I like that word, trust.
Yes, trust the child to carry out the task. And when they carry out the task, finish doing the task, it's never all bad. There's always something positive to say about it. So they finish washing bowls. You did a really good job with washing the cups. And I see the plates are also squeaky clean. But the forks, we could have done it better. You see the holes in between. Maybe if we use the sponge and try to get in between, they will be able to get everything out. And what you've done is you have validated them. Okay, you've told them that there's something good in what I do. I do something right before you came at them with the negative feedback. Even in work environments, even with us adults, if I called one of my teachers here and I wanted to give them feedback on their work and I start with negative, immediately they're going to draw up a defensive wall and I'm not going to get through to them the way I should have. It's emotional intelligence. So even with children, we have to give them that respect. Lead with positive feedback, lead with what they do well, and then you can use the negative feedback to get in there, and giving them feedback doesn't mean that you are taking all the consequences of the things that they didn't do well out. You give them the feedback and then you set an expectation for them to do it, and that's very different from, oh, they just did it anyhow, and you left it and you told them, okay, you have done well, go and sleep. That doesn't work either. That's what
They've not learned.
They've not learned. But then when you let them finish the task, you appreciate what they have done, and then you give the feedback. You find you have excellent results.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Thank you so much. And I want to say thank you to all our viewers. See you next time.